Now we arrive chapter 5, part 2, lesson 2.1, conclusions and recommendations. For the culminations of our journey in chapter 5, focusing on conclusions and recommendations, this chapter will synthesize the key findings from our investigations, drawing definitive conclusions based on the evidence presented. Furthermore, we will formulate a sample of actionable recommendations that address the identified challenges and opportunities, paving the way for future progress in writing your Chapter 5. Let's take a look on how to write the conclusions. For our guideline number 1, base your conclusions on findings. Your conclusion should be anchored in the findings of your study. Its conclusions must be supported by concrete evidence that can be traced back to your result. Its conclusion will be directly on the result presented in Chapter 4. Avoid general statements that are not supported by data. Always ask yourself, is this conclusion clearly supported by evidence I presented? Let's take a look on guideline number 2. Conclusions are realization supported by evidence. Conclusions is not a personal opinion or claim. It is a realization grounded in the empirical evidence drawn from your studies and findings. Your conclusion should reflect what has been discovered or proven through data analysis. For your guideline number 3, address the hypothesis if applicable. If your study includes hypotheses, this is in your sections where state whether it has been accepted or rejected based on the findings. Refer back to your chapter 1 to guide the formulations of your conclusions in relation to hypotheses. Your study include a hypothesis, indicate whether it was accepted or rejected based on the statistical findings, and this provide closure to the problem set out to investigate. Let's take a look on table 29 on the chi-square test result on significant relationship between firmographic profile of the respondents and level of customer satisfactions in terms of empathy. Along with the firmographic profile are company size, business type, years of operations, and type of ownership. For the decisions will be rejected, and for the verbal interpretations, there is no significant relationship. Moving on, when we are checking to the table 29, it assesses that firmographic profile variable are significantly related with customer satisfactions in terms of empathy, which refers to the ability of an organization to provide caring, personalized attentions to its customer. Chi-square test result indicate the years of ISO certifications, and there is a significant relationship with customers' satisfactions in terms of empathy. For guideline number 4, avoid using numerical data in the conclusions. Conclusion should be written in a narrative form. Do not include the statistical figures or numeric values in this manner. Follow the required format set by your institutions. Your statement and realizations must clearly link back to the findings, but in descriptive terms rather than a quantitative data. Do not repeat the statistical values in the conclusion. Instead, summarize the data means. Use descriptive language and focus on the implications of the findings. Let's take a look on the sample. Based on the result of the study, the following conclusions were drawn. We need to have the transitionary statement before the conclusions, as we discussed a while ago. And you are now discussing the number 1 conclusions on the findings reveals that the medium-sized businesses dominate Taguig City landscape, particularly in the constructions and manufacturing sectors, etc., etc. In for number 2, business in Taguig City generally exhibit a strong level of implementation across the ISO 9000:2015 with leadership, planning, support, and operations, and performance evaluation receiving the positive ratings. How to write the recommendations? Guideline number 1, base recommendations on findings and conclusions. Recommendations must be rooted in both findings and conclusions of your study. Do not introduce ideas that are not supported by the data or analysis presented in your Chapter 4. Recommendations should be logically flow from the conclusions. Avoid suggesting actions that were not addressed in your study. For your guideline number 2, use a diplomatic and suggestive tone. Write a recommendation using diplomatic or suggestive language. Use words such as may, can be, consider, or it is suggested that. This approach respects the autonomy of the reader or institutions to decide whether or not to adopt your recommendations. Reminders. You always have to have the persuasive but not purposeful in using the language. For guideline number 3, include interventions for action research. In this section, you should include the intervention program or action plan. You need to present actionable suggestions. If recommendations should be specific, relevant, and realistic for intended audience. Always make it clear that the recommendations are optionals and the implementations may depend on the discretions of the concerned parties. We've synthesized the conclusions and recommendations for our study as of this point, resulting a clear understanding of the final writings. The recommendation presented offer a practical roadmap for addressing the challenging and capitalizing on the opportunities identified. While this chapter marked the end of the formal analysis, the implications or conclusions and recommendations of the suggested actions will continue to resonate in form of future development in the field of your area in your studies. In closing, we've covered a lot of ground of this chapter and hopefully you've gained some valuable insight. Don't forget to like this video if you find it helpful and leave a comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button to stay updated in the future uploads. Check out the video suggested related to this topic. This is Dr. De Chavez. Thank you for watching and see you for the next video.